Welcome to this month's edition of the Safety Wave, brought to you by Tulane University's Office of Environmental Health and Safety.
All right, welcome to the very first episode of the Safety Wave. I think we had the Safety Wave before, but it was a paper format. I think it was before my time.
Absolutely.
And well, I'm here today. Our special guest is Lewis Meyer with the Office of Environmental Health and Safety. So Tulane's resident fire safety officer.
Great.
So
Thank you.
when did you start here?
Well, I started here in 1977 with the Office of Environmental Health and Safety, and we were in the basement. We were in the basement of the medical school, and since that time, we've moved to various other locations. And at that point, we were an office of about 5 people, very small office.
And then it became better when you started to add people like me and all that.
Of course, absolutely. There's no question about that.
All right.
Glad to have you.
You've probably seen a lot of incidents since then. I mean, just by natural occurrence being in a university environment, a lot of people, a lot of fire safety hazards for any place where you having that many people, as far as dormitories, classrooms, buildings, office buildings. Is there anything of note that's happened over the years since?
Well, you know what is interesting is that we do quite a few fire drills each year. We do over 100 fire drills in various locations on campus. And one of the things that was interesting to me when I first began doing fire drills is that when people evacuate out of these buildings, they have a tendency to just leave the door, or should I say exit the door, and just stand around the door instead of reporting to an area 100 feet or so away from the building or to assembly area. So that was one of the significant things I remembered about our fire drills. And on occasion, we may see the same thing happen, but we have our facilities, we have our ways of controlling that and encouraging people and training people that they have to get away from the building, be 100 feet away from the building, and go to the assembly area.
And those are EAPs, right?
The emergency action plans have specific assembly areas noted per building. And we have those online that are accessible to our faculty, staff, and students.
And that's on the OEHS website.
Exactly.
So that's www.tulane.edu/OEHS. Look for the assembly areas or the EAPs for your local building. Be familiar with it. Even if you're going to a class at a different building and you're going to be there a couple hours, you might want to know where to.
Exactly. You must become familiar with your emergency action plans. There's no question about that.
In dormitories, they seem like there's a lot of people. It's a residential facility in essence, so there's probably a lot more hazards that probably goes on than maybe your average building.
Well, you have to look at the risk because we're looking at a facility in which we have people sleeping. And that increases the risk as opposed to an office area or industrial occupancy or some other location, storage, for example. And so we have to look at that. We have policies and procedures for them to include the EAP, plus special policies through housing and residence life for evacuation, and we do drills for them. What's interesting is that for the residence halls on the Uptown campus in particular, we can have as many as 5 fire drills a year. Wow. And these are even at nighttime as well.
But that angers a lot of students at first, but then the importance of it is key.
Exactly. And when we do the fire drills, we set the alarm off, and people are required to evacuate these buildings.
And you also do a HRL Fire Academy, right?
Exactly. Once a year, we have the award-winning HRL Fire Academy. We've been doing that for about 5 years now. And the academy includes a lecture from the New Orleans Fire Department. We're talking about training on how to use a fire extinguisher. The students, should I say the RAs and house officers, they have to go through a smoke-filled hallway. And so it's very interactive, and it's a very good training program that we have for them.
Kind of show them probably to crawl on their knees and hold the wall kind of thing.
Absolutely. And we have a smoke generator, and it smokes up the room, smokes up the hallway pretty substantially where you can't see your hand in front of your face.
And Tulane University, we have some fire suppression systems. What are some common things that people kind of expect to see in something like that?
Well, when we look at fire suppression, we're looking at automatic sprinklers.
Okay.
In our high-rise buildings, we have automatic sprinklers. Several of our buildings have automatic sprinklers. And one of the things you want to keep note is that you don't want to store within 18 inches of these automatic sprinkler heads. And if there's exposed pipe or sprinkler heads, you don't want to attach anything to them, like a coat hanger or anything of this nature, because you can actually activate one of these things, and your room will be filled with water for the most part, with the alarm sounding.
And the doors, just the doors to the hallways, they should be never closed, right?
The hallway doors, for example, in a residence hall, they're self-closing for the sleeping rooms,
Okay.
and they have latches. And so you don't want to prop those things open, and you don't want to prop open the stairwell doors in any building.
Right.
For enclosed stairwells. They have to stay closed, and with positive latches on these things as well.
And it's kind of like almost fire containment, to my understanding. Like
Exactly.
if there's a fire in a building, if you do anything, just shut the door to that room where the fire's at and get out, nearest exit.
Well, one of the things that we developed several years ago is an acronym on how to respond if you discover a fire.
Okay.
And it's simply the word escape. E, evaluate the situation, means you got to do something. S, secure the area by getting people out.
Okay.
Then you close the door to the room that's on fire. Then A, activate the alarm using the pull station. P, you want to phone Tulane police using the emergency number and go back and extinguish the fire with a fire extinguisher if you know how to use a fire extinguisher. And this is basically the sequence you need to follow.
Okay. And since it's as far as younger people, like myself included, prone to get into shenanigans. We've had issues with that in the past at the dorm of, students, undergrads being undergrads sometimes.
Unfortunately, we have on occasion, maybe once or twice a year, a situation in which someone may get mad at a piece of paper in the elevator lobby or something like that and set fire to it. Or we had a case where someone set fire to a piece of paper that belonged to someone else. This is a pretty serious situation. This is intentional. But we have these happen maybe once every year, maybe once every 2 years in our residence halls. And considering the number of students that we have, over 3,000 students who are residing in these rooms, the students do a great job of maintaining fire safety. There's no question.
Yeah, and it's I can understand that it could be dire that they do not do this. Kind of like you said, it's intentional, and they set something on fire. I mean, they could be charged with something like arson.
Exactly. And of course, that's up to Tulane University Police Department as to what level they want to go to. But it's pretty intentional. And also, they have to go through type of controls for the most part. And if they do something minimal, for example, using incense or lighting a candle or something of this nature, which is contrary to our policy and procedure, they generally have to provide a university service to us. And I've got one student who's going to have to do 10 hours because I think he lit a candle in one of the rooms, which is contrary to our policy.
And is there like some tips that we can give, kind of like extension cords under mats or portable space heaters, I think?
Yeah, the thing is that there are, within our policies and procedures, there are things that you can't have. And one of the things we look at happens to be heaters. So we don't want you to use these heaters because they use a great deal of wattage and they can create problems. They can actually trip circuit breakers. If they come in contact too close with combustible materials, they can actually set fire. And we certainly don't want that to happen. Keep doors closed. Don't block doors open, we talked about. Don't store things in the hallways. Definitely don't store anything into the stairwell. Because the concept here is that once you evacuate your room, you get in the hallway, and you get into the stairwell, you're in a safe location. You may have to go down a few floors to get out, but once you're in the enclosed stairwell, you're in a safe location at that point.
It's kind of like the black box of the building.
Exactly.
And one thing I always notice, I look at some people, they have like a power strip, and they have like a million cords on it, and a power strip on top of a power strip. And
exactly.
That seems like it'd be a heavy hazard to me too.
No, nothing like that. I mean, we will, I believe in our residence halls, for example, they're not allowed, but outside the residence halls, we will allow them only if they're connected to computer equipment, which happens to be low wattage.
Okay.
We just don't want high wattage materials, which could be a refrigerator or a vacuum cleaner or something of that nature connected to these things. We just don't want that.
And if you're tuning in and seeing this pilot for the first time, we have a limited supply. We have a surplus, but a finite supply of smoke detectors we're willing to give away. If you're on campus, faculty, staff, students, you can go to Bruff Commons. What's the
Right. If you go down to the first floor, Bruff Commons, to the Office of Environmental Health and Safety, and I'm sure Karen and George will be happy to give you 1 or 2 smoke detectors, battery-operated smoke detectors that you can use.
And if you're downtown, you can come to the 11th floor of Tidewater Building at Suite 1156, and you can request one up here too.
Exactly.
And while supplies last. You know, from what I understand, these kind of detectors, they're really good. They have more than one detection.
Well, they're designed as ionization as well as smoke.
Right.
But they're battery operated. They're very good units, and just follow the instructions. You can mount them yourself at home or in your areas. Not in the office. We don't want them outside of our Tulane offices because we have our own fire alarm systems in place.
All right. Well, that concludes our show for today, and I thank Lewis for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it for being a pilot and a good sport with me.
Great. Thank you,
And
sir.
if you have any comments, please just put in the comment section below the YouTube channel. And we're going to be doing this monthly, and I have a special guest every time for a different subject of safety or compliance around the university.
Right.